Let's look at the thrivers, all right? This would be the opposite side. Number one, instead of being in self-preservation mode, you actually stop that and you switch into what? Self-growth mode. And when you start growing through your experiences and taking whatever happened to you and taking the current economy and your business plan, these type of things, when you start asking yourself the question, what am I doing to cause this problem? How am I part of this problem? What do I need to be doing? What do I need to be learning from this experience? And when you start doing that, what begins to happen to you? Yeah, you start getting out of that surviving mentality and switching into what? Something that's more proactive. You stop whining and complaining about what happened to you and start taking that experience and rolling it into something positive. When I had that motorcycle wreck, by the way, Larry was okay. When he hit the car, he went right through the driver's windshield. He had a full face helmet on. He knocked the driver out. By the way, she was drunk, and he knocked the passenger out, who was also drunk, and he was laying across the front of the car. And I'd flown over the car and landed on top of the car just like she was sitting in her chair, straight up and then straight down. Later on, the ambulance came. I had a couple of stitches in my hand. Larry got a spoke through his leg, and they just kind of pulled the spoke out and gave him a shot of penicillin to make sure he didn't get infected. And I was about 14, and Larry was 15. And we just got done from a Bible study that we went to. And I remember being at Larry's house. We spent the night together, and we were laying there in bed. And I remember Larry asking me, it was pitch dark, and he said, wow, he said, that was quite an experience. And I said, wow, it sure was. And I said, I'm never getting on a motorcycle again, ever. Okay, that's survive mode, right? And Larry said, he's real quiet. He goes, I need to ask my dad to give me a bigger bike. And what was he already doing? He's going beyond the experience, and he's ready to get back on another bike here. What was I doing? The experience actually was telling me I'm never doing that again, because that was fearful, that was scary. And in a small way, we do that in a lot of areas of our lives. And we get stuck in this particular mode, which is a self-preservation, not self-growth. When you're in self-growth mode, you begin to heal. You feel more engaged, don't you? You're connecting with life. You're actually getting small things done. You're putting little plans together and getting them accomplished at the end of the day, and you feel better about yourself, and you feel empowered. Okay? Because I can't do anything about what happened. I can't do anything about the economy, but I can do a lot about what? About my world and the activities and the plans and the things that I can do today. All right? Here's the second part of that. Thrivers have a real warrior attitude and mentality. Did you know that? Now, what picture comes to your mind when you think of a warrior? What does a warrior do? What does a warrior do when you think of that? Yeah, they're prepared. You know, they have their tools. They're very comfortable with the resources, okay? And they are ready to do battle. And I love that picture, because when I get up in the morning and I roll my feet out of bed, when my feet hit the floor, I'm ready to take on, it's like, bring it on. There's problems, I'm going to hit problems today, just bring it on. It's okay, because I've got my sword, I've got my shield, I've got my sword, and I've got all my equipment to do battle with these problems today. And isn't that how problems show up? I mean, they come out of the corner just when you least expect it, and here it is, you have to deal with it, because change happens all the time, doesn't it? The thing about change, it's not going to ask for your permission to show up, is it? It's just going to show up, and it'll show up in your relationships. It's going to show up in your business plan. It's going to show up in your budget. It's going to show up with your friends. Just at it's kind of like candy Cambria. When you least expect it, you know, surprise, here's where it comes. But a warrior is ready to take on the battle. When problems show up, they're anticipating problems. I work with a lot of salespeople to help them improve their closes and influence skills. And one of the things we work on is these warrior tools for salespeople. When a customer says, hey, I think I'm going to use somebody else, or when they're giving you an objection, you have to be ready to respond to that objection, don't you? You need to be ready. You need to be a warrior. And here's what a warrior does. They're accountable for their actions. Okay? Number two, they're determined. They're persistent. They don't give up. And when they get up in the morning, they know that, you know what, I got another battle to face today. And people are watching you, aren't they? Your kids are watching you, your spouses, your friends are watching you. And when you see really strong people out there that are warriors, they're dealing with the same problems that I'm dealing with, yet they're getting a lot more accomplished. They're getting hit with the same problems and challenges, and yet they're still moving through that. They're setting goals and objectives, and they're still hitting the perfect storms of life, but they seem to end up at the point that they're heading for, where I just seem to get blown all over the place. And that's what a warrior does. It stays focused, all right, and it's accountable. Another thing that's a characteristic of a thriver is that they're a player. They have decided, you know what, I got knocked off the field here and had to sit in the dugout for a while. But, you know, you can't sit in the dugout forever, can you? If you're playing baseball. You've got to get out of the dugout and what? That's right. You've got to get out there and pick up that bat and swing the bat again. And if you're going to swing and miss, you've got to get out there and play. You know, I know a lot of people, when I started writing a book or I started doing some of the things that I wanted to do, boy, I tell you, that's when the critics come out of the corner, isn't it? When you try to go to the next level, you better be ready for the critics to show up, because these survivors that are stuck in survive mode, they don't want you to be in thriver mode. And I'll show you a couple of people that we kind of categorize them if you read the book. But a player, where it says here, you decide to get back on the field and you become a lot more assertive. You begin to produce energy, not what? Like a parasite, absorbing energy. You're going around, you're finding people say, listen, we can get this done. You can do this. And instead of just absorbing energy from people, you're giving life back to them. You're telling them, you can do this. You're smart. You're talented. Let me help you. And instead of pushing people, you're pulling people along to someplace else. Because that's what players do, isn't it? When players get on the field, players are not yelling at each other like the people in the stands. They're focused on getting the game done, doing their best skill set, hitting the ball out of the park, playing the game in order to win. It's the people in the stands that are doing what? Telling you what you need to be doing. And sometimes you have to have deaf ears because you can't listen to that. So those are players, and players are also proactive. Remember we talked about survivors or actors? Well, thrivers are directors. And as a director, they see the vision. They have a vision for their life. They have a vision for their business. They have a vision for more income. They have a vision for themselves. They're either writing books. They could become speakers. I was reading in a magazine or something the other day about a lady. She's always wanted to be a singer. She's been in corporate life her whole life. She's always wanted to be a singer. Good luck. Yeah. She left her corporate life and put a band together. Now she's traveling around singing. And she's doing, and everybody said, don't what? Don't do this. You know Mary Kay, Cosmetics. Did you know that Mary Kay lived in the corporate world for years in a world of men? And she was even on the board of a particular company. And then when she retired, she had a vision to help women like herself start their own business. She only had about $5,000, and her friends were saying, you cannot use the money you have and start a business. Don't do it. But you know what? She wasn't listening to them. She was listening to what? That thriver mentality. So she and her husband worked up a game plan to start this new business, Mary Kay Cosmetics, and her husband actually died during that period. And instead of giving up and staying in survive mode, she even got fired back up and stayed with the business. And of course, it's Mary Kay Cosmetics today. She was in self-growth mode. She was a warrior. She decided to be a player. And wasn't she a director of her life? Yeah. And a director has a can-be-done attitude, and they're future-focused. That means that you're focused on the future, and then you back up and you head that way. It's almost like if we decided we were going to climb a mountain together. All right? Now, if we're going to climb a mountain together, we've never been on this mountain. We love mountains, and our goal for the mountain would be to get to the top. Is that right? Okay. There's two ways we could attack this. The first way we could attack this is this: we just decide we're passionate about mountains, we love rocks, and we're all really good, and we have good skill sets, and we just start. All right? Very little planning. Our success rate of getting to the top of that mountain is not going to be very good. And at best we'll be lucky. That would be a survive mentality. What thrivers do is they keep their focus on the goal, and they'll say, you know what, we're going to get to the top of this mountain. But I've never been to the top, and I need somebody that's been up there to tell me what the obstacles and the challenges that are going to happen to me. The second thing they've done is they look for all the resources that they have and don't have, and they do an assessment of our strengths and weaknesses. This is what I have, this is what we don't have. They do an assessment of we're going to have a change of clothing because the weather pattern is going to change. We need ropes. We need all this equipment. We need a consultant. We need a topographical map. We need to have a clear picture, and then what they do is mentally they'll start at the top and they'll create the milestones all the way down to the bottom, and then we'll launch. And their success rate is much higher than those who just start and get lucky. I find it very interesting when I work with people who are very successful in their career. And when you talk to them about it, it took them a long time before they started really becoming successful. That's because they were constantly planning and backing down and heading off again. You know, a lot of your really good country singers, when they become famous, have always been famous in their minds. Did you know that? It's just that you just didn't know who they were. And some of them worked 10 years, and then boom, they're an instant success.
They wasn't homeless, they just wasn't home right now.
Yeah, that's right. Those are directors, that you have a feeling of control. When I work with people that need to, and I'm going to show you a really cool formula to actually help you make more money and get more revenue up, okay? And when I work with people like that, you'd be very surprised how many present, future people that I work with. And yet they want to be in a director role, but when you look at what they're actually doing, they're stuck in a survivor mode. And as soon as we get them out of that and get them in a better plan and clear vision and clear milestones, they find they're a lot more successful. And how do you feel and how do you act when you have a plan and the plan's working? What happens to you?
Feel pretty good.
You feel very successful. What happens to you when your plan's not working, your strategy's not working? Hey, you get really depressed. You can. And what I tell people, I said, you know what? And what people do, I find, is they go from survive mode right quickly in survive mode. They give up that goal, they give up that vision, and they just stop the dream. And what I tell them is that, you shouldn't have changed your goal, you should have just changed your strategy. Because when you're... Change what?
Change the dates.
Change the dates.
On the line.
That's right. You've got to change the strategy, not change the goal. Isn't that right? And if the tactics aren't working, change the tactics. But you don't change the goal.